Welcome to the Developing Leaders series. My name is Miriam McLemore, former corporate CIO at the Coca-Cola Company and now enterprise strategist with AWS, where I partner with leaders globally to enable business transformation. We have invited leaders from around the world and across industries to share their insights on leadership, vision, strategy, and people development. Shaown, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thanks for having me.
I would love to start our conversation with a question about how you select or identify new leaders.
I think there's not one single way to do it. And leadership comes in so many different forms. What we look for are people who sort of stand out, whether it's in product development and operations, and bring something a bit unique to the table. And on the technical side, we look for folks who want to invest time in the people around them. That's really important because technical leadership is all about mentorship. It's all about guiding teams. It's all about providing them support. We have a nice formal process with HR where we sit down and think about our employees and think about what their future potential is and how we can track them and how we can help them.
So along with that, do you have a reward system that calls out kind of those, what we called in our business, high potential leaders?
We definitely identify high potential leaders and pay attention to them. The technical leadership team tries to cater itself to say, how much time and attention are we giving these future leaders? Are we helping them grow? If they're not growing, are we doing all the right things? So while the onus is certainly on them to step up,
right,
we hold ourselves accountable for that. So we especially look at doing things like rewarding them through new opportunities, rewarding them through rotation, rewarding them through visibility, rewarding them by letting them come and speak at industry events and encouraging that, so on and so forth.
Oh, that's great. So along the way, right, you were, I'm sure, high potential talent as well. Were there leaders that inspired you?
There were, and I think inspiration comes, again, at many different levels, and I think the most important, often undersung folks were the peers. Peers who would often coach me on things that they were good at that I wasn't, and I would try to do the same for them. One that stands out was a very early leader, and I had the opportunity to sit down with her. She was, I want to say, 3 levels up from me in the organization at the time, and I was just a few years out of school, still learning the ropes. Sat down with her, shared everything I did, told her about all these great things, and she gave some strong feedback to my boss at the time, and the feedback was great. It was, he's smart, he's articulate, doesn't know when to shut up, didn't actually let me speak, and I'm the one in the room, right? And that was a huge lesson for me that I was able to incorporate. Getting that opportunity to get that candid feedback,
yeah, absolutely,
and being guided by it and being thankful for it was really powerful.
Yeah, and so she was a female, and we often think about, from a leader and mentorship perspective, it's nice to have diversity of leaders. Can you talk a little bit about y'all's views on getting that mix in the team for these leaders?
Yeah, I would say for Dow Jones especially, diversity is a huge area of focus, and it's an area of focus for one simple reason: our customers are diverse. And we want our product teams, our technology teams to reflect our members and our customers. And it also helps us bring diverse points of view in when we're building products. You want to understand how your customer base, your membership base thinks.
Right.
In terms of growing leaders, we do a couple things. We're running a great new program that our CEO is sponsoring to identify diverse leaders across every level, focused on giving them attention and support. And within our organization, we always sort of step back and periodically look around and look at teams and look at groups and say, are we developing everyone we could develop? And I think we've done a pretty good job of it.
I love that. And, so obviously, technology leader, and part of being a big leader is having the awareness of technology trends in an evolving space, right? So how do you do the same for your team and keep your team abreast and also your business, right, abreast of technology changes?
I think for the team and business, it's a bit different. For the team, it's really simple. Don't block them from spending time on things they're passionate about. Yes, there's a balance with the deliverables that are due this month for, maybe the exciting or maybe the frustrating project that just has to get done.
Right.
But encouraging them to carve out time. And I think what we found works best for at this point is each leader within the technology organization who decides what cadence to keep with their teams.
Right.
For me, that's one. The second is I always encourage my team to go and spend time at conferences and mixing with their peers inside and outside of the organization. And that sharing, it also, I think, means a lot when engineers and operations folks hear from their peer sets what they've learned.
Right.
So a bit of all of that. The product teams, obviously, they often know more about what's happening than we do. It just depends on the topic.
Yep.
I think we work hard to keep our business line leaders, our CFO and our COO, informed of what's happening, try to offer them commentary. We're encouraging our teams to adopt tool sets like Slack to share information more consumably, right? Not to flood everyone with email.
Right.
Finding interesting articles and sharing them, taking that extra couple minutes a day can make a huge difference. It pays back pretty quickly, I would say.
Famously, at Amazon, Jeff believes in failure. Mm-hmm. In shareholder letters, right? Amazon's the best place to fail. And so could you share what you've learned in your philosophy around failure for you and your team?
I think the best failures are either the ones you learn from or you feel you do the right things. I've probably had a decent number of them. One that stood out to me, and it all had to do with expectations. My first job in product management, all I wanted to do was show everyone I could take this service that was perceived relatively well and take it to the next level, grow it,
Right.
build a bit of my career as a product manager off it. And, within 2 or 3 months, I looked at it and realized it was actually hemorrhaging money. It hadn't been, I guess it hadn't been very transparent about how it operated, and it didn't necessarily make a lot of sense to make it continue running.
Right.
And I sort of struggled with what to do. I was like, I have to make this successful. Did not know how. With some support from some mentors, I realized the actual answer was to declare it a failure and to really be transparent about it and go and get line management support to say, how do we shut this down?
That takes some courage, especially early in your career.
Maybe I was courageous. Maybe I really had no other choice. I'm not quite sure. Looking back at the time, I felt a little courageous. But the key lesson was learning how to position and present that, how not to cover it up,
Right.
how not to try to run away from the role, but to take ownership of it and do it gracefully, to make sure the customers who are served by it were treated well and had an exit strategy for it.
Yep.
And that was probably one of the hardest things I had to do, to take something over, think I was making my mark from it, instead just be like, we're shutting it down.
Yeah.
But it turned out well enough.
And has that served you well at leading teams that when failures happen?
Yeah, I think the thing I push the most to people when they have failures or challenges is to communicate them, be transparent about them, ask for help early. You want to be able to go to your management team, to your stakeholders, and talk about what you're facing, ask them for their help, and tell them what you think you should do. Don't go in with saying, I don't know what to do. You need an idea, you need a solution, right? But it doesn't have to be perfectly baked.
Right.
And I think that's the lesson I took away from that first early failure, and I think it's one that has served me well and hopefully served the people I've coached and mentored well as well.
That's great. A great example. So can you tell me about the most exciting project that you have going?
I think my answer is different every week, which is probably a testament to the fact that I get to work on a lot of fun things, which I love.
That's great.
The one probably that's top of mind this week, not everyone will think was exciting, but I'm a little excited by it, is around cloud security. We are spending a ton of time looking at ways to automate a lot of the things that we do. Mm-hmm. And it's been really interesting to bring sort of that engineering mindset into the security world, cross that with our cloud and DevOps teams and see them all sort of come together.
Right.
And find the right balance between sort of borrowing open source tools that our peers are using, building a bit of our own, deciding what we want to buy, spending time with the Amazon team and all the exciting things they're doing, and finding that right mix. And I find security to be a pretty fascinating area, a little scary some days.
A little
right?
scary.
But pretty fascinating. And I think spending time with our CISO is probably one of the most fun and scary simultaneous things that I get to do.
Shaown, it was wonderful to have you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.